Orc, the bardic paladin, who sings and plays again. He tells the tales of glory and weaves a magic story. He'll join you at your table and ask you to share a fable. Heroes of humble origin, villains who must be fought again. No matter their skill or prowess, the people in life are countless. So we pray you heed our request. Enjoy this tale of sidekicks and sidequests.
Episode 133, Druthers and Druthers, the Pair o' Legals. Welcome to Sidekicks and Sidequests, the Dungeons & Dragons podcast that helps to put humans back into humanity and breathe life into your campaign NPCs with backstory and bravado. That's right, we're building a world, one character at a time. I am your host, Kurt Krenwelge, the Bardic Paladin, and I'll be joining Johnny Stanton IV and Travis Reaves' table in the Levitating Platter. Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of Sidekicks and Sidequests, the best unofficial Dungeons & Dragons podcast, in my humbly biased opinion. I've got an amazing pair of guests for you this week, but before I get to my guests, I have to leave you in suspense with the ad read. This episode is brought to you by Plus One EXP and their brand new RPG Zine Club. Zine Club is a monthly membership subscription service featuring fresh zines from emerging and expanding creators across the globe. It's our way of inviting GMs, players, and zine lovers everywhere to invest more intentionally in the creative community. It's crowdsourced support without crowdfunding. So this service offers monthly releases that they put out in two 20 to 44 page saddle stitch zines. 3 different flavors. Take your pick from story zines, adventure zines, and all of the zines. You can pick your format of print and digital, or just get digital only for your favorite titles. Join the Clubhouse Discord section of the Plus One EXP community on Discord. Get the best prices guaranteed from your subscription that you're going to get each month. You get a private subscription portal where you can manage your subscription, add products, or change your information, change your frequency monthly, every other month, something else. You pick how often you want these new titles to arrive. You only get what you want. And if you miss a month, why, you can always go back and add a title to your recent month's order. Get an annual surprise each February after your first anniversary. Get access to special content with interviews, how to play videos, special content for Zine Club titles. Get a free pizza if you fill out one of the RPG Zine Club passports, or redeem it for a free pizza at events where Tony is present himself. You're going to get access to new and known designers, the best voices from across the RPG design community. And know that Plus One EXP and RPG Zine Club curate their zines based on community interest and feedback to help you discover your new favorite creators. There's a DIE focus because Plus One is committed to championing diversity, inclusion, and equity in their projects. Creators with diverse experiences make our community better. So Zine Club prioritizes creating equity for all of our creators. And it's more than a purchase. Your subscriptions will let us invest more heavily in our print partners and provide them with potentially life-changing support by consolidating scores or hundreds of purchases as the club grows. So, if you want to learn more, I would recommend that you go to the website rpgzine.club, again, rpgzine.club, and if you want, go to plus1exp.com, and when you're buying stuff on that site, beard balms or lip balms or beard RPGs or whatnot, and you need a discount code at checkout, be sure to use the code Randolph, RANDOLPH, at checkout and get some savings on your purchase at no extra cost to you. Again, website is plus1exp.com, and the Zine Club website is rpgzine.club. All right. Well, we've got an interesting dynamic duo for you today. A guest that I have been a long time trying to get on the show, and then a wonderful returning face. So without much further ado, hello, mystery contestants. Would you care to introduce yourselves? Tell us who it is that you are and what is it you do?
I just want to say Travis just pulled off a long sleeve to reveal that he's wearing the shirt of my former team, which I'm sure he's just trying to get at me right now.
This was a literal coincidence, but I'm not mad
Oh
about
my,
it.
you're lying.
I'm
Okay, my
not
name's Johnny
lying.
Stanton. This is Travis Reaves.
Who's not a liar?
Yeah. Thank you for having us.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. So good fair listeners of this podcast will recall Johnny has been on for his own standalone episode, and then of course he was part of the inaugural successful Parlays at the Platter panel style episodes that we've been experimenting with. We just recorded number 3, so stay tuned. Public RSS feed should hopefully have that dropping soon. But if you want to hear it early, maybe you should go check out the Patreon.
Go do it.
Travis, you and I think our only real interaction one time before is when Andrew Strother was doing his 1-year anniversary stream thing for Roll for Persuasion.
Oh
and
my god.
you and Beth and KP and Travis from Demiplane and all these other fine
Perfect.
folks
Yeah.
that were all on together for the call. And I think that's where you and I first interacted and tried to make
Did I
something
miss
work,
that,
but
Travis?
then the universe conspired against us.
Yeah, the universe being my inability to regularly check my Twitter DMs. But we'll pin that on the universe, sure, no problem.
Yeah.
But, I remember that fondly. Man, what a wild time. That was right when Johnny and I had, shortly after we had met, like within months.
Yeah, can we give you a little bit like of an intro of how we met?
Yeah,
Because
go for
it's
it.
a pretty fun story. I was a fan of Dungeons and Daddies before I met Travis, and I think I was following Beth's Instagram or Twitter or something
Mhm.
when she posted Travis's little DIY ad for pandemic virtual guitar lessons.
This is correct. Beth May of Dungeons and Daddies fame,
Mhm.
also an author and poet in her own right, screenwriter, was my roommate at the time. We all lived together in a tiny little house by the airport. All 7 of us slept in one big bed, like the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory grandparents. And the pandemic had recently shut down the music school I was working at in Mid-City. And I was like, well, I can teach online. I can do that. In fact, I already was doing that with the school. But I was like, I could do it and keep all the money. So as a fun little art project, Beth helped me shoot and edit a short commercial for...
I need to watch that again. It's
Guitar
been
Lo-
too long since I've seen this, and it was so funny.
You know what's really funny about it is that this was back before the advent of Reels on Instagram, when videos were still 60 seconds maximum.
Yeah.
So I don't have the original file anymore. The only thing I have is the condensed version, which isn't that we cut anything out of it. We just squished it. So it plays at
just
like 1.4 speed. Yeah. Like, I sound insane in that thing.
Well, I mean, there's a good chance that listeners are listening to us at 1.5 speed right now anyway.
Yeah, so check out the ad.
Just
It's the
imagine
same thing.
Travis's voice like this, but slower in real life.
And Johnny, adventurous soul as he was like, that was funny enough. Let's try it. He's like, that was funny. That must mean he's good at guitar. I don't know what your logic was, but I appreciate it.
Yeah. No, and we've it's been a burgeoning friendship ever since. I think it's past the point of burgeoning. I would say that it's been like 4 years now.
It's certainly more valid than our relationship as musical education partners was.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, so keen listeners, of podcasts everywhere, especially, as Johnny was mentioning, fans of Dungeons and Daddies, they've heard Travis's name a time or two because Freddie Wong always shouts it out at the end of every episode saying, oh, additional editing by Travis Reaves. And as you were saying, oh, you were, roommates with Beth May, who also shout out to her, has been a previous guest of the show. I know she's finishing up with, all the big touring and stuff like that for their podcast. So we'll have to have her back around sometime for sure.
Somewhat successful podcast.
Yeah. Moderately successful. I think they got a pretty.
I'm really rooting for them.
Yeah.
They're going to the UK. That's their next tour in October 2024. They're going to the UK.
Merry old England.
Yeah. in
Well,
merry
enough
old
about a
Netherlands.
different podcast. We're on this podcast.
Yeah, and so that's where Travis has his chops, and now the two of you have combined forces because you both are now working on a podcast. This was something that Johnny teased about on his panel episode that he did with the other mentioned Travis Frederick and Joshua Simons, where he's like, "Oh, I'm thinking about doing like this TikTok thing for athletics check, where it's just like a tiny snippet and stuff like that." But now this is like wholeheartedly come out now as a full podcast. So can you tell us about the Athletics Check podcast?
Yeah, it's funny because the evolution of it from like TikTok, how to become a nerd, or like how to become a sports fan. It didn't become a podcast because it was successful on on TikTok. It was because it was so hard to make a fully produced like TikTok like multiple times a week. Like, you spending a couple hours writing and spending a couple hours shooting it and editing it all together, like trying to do that multiple times to a point where you're actually creating actual momentum on TikTok is exhausting. And what I decided was I have so many people, like I think more than most, I've been able to learn about people in the D&D and TTRPG industry and their sports fandom, because I am kind of the touch point for most people within who are like creators, performers, writers, whatever. Like, oh my gosh, well, I'm a big fan of the Patriots. I'm a big fan of Lakers or whatever. And I'm kind of I get to be the person that they talk to about that. And same thing with sports. When people see that I am just a big nerd, they get to talk to me about like board games or anime or whatever. So that's my opportunity of turning those conversations into a listenable thing. And when it came to how I wanted the podcast to be formatted, because there's in essence it's an interview show, but I think what we do is take a lot of inspiration, or at least in format wise, of Conan Needs a Friend. I am a fan of that podcast, and I think their format with having Sona and Matt be at the very beginning of the episode and at the end of the episode is really great to be able to show that that back and forth, that chemistry. And Travis is somebody that I've been able to develop a ton of chemistry with. I think Travis is one of the funniest people I know. So he's always, I know it's pretty sad. No, he always makes me look good. He's improv trained, and he knows how to set somebody else up. And I'm always learning from him, and sometimes I teach him a thing or two.
That's right.
And thanks to our mutual friend Andrew Strother as well. It's how I also learned that Travis himself is also a TTRPG star, if you will, because he got his start on a little show called 20-Sided Stories, and so I've enjoyed listening to the various characters that Travis has inhabited through their productions, whether it was been Pokemon, or I think there was like a hot minute where you did like some sort of like Twilight one shot sort of a thing, to you getting to be some sort of little powder monkey on a pirate adventure. Which did that properly wrap up, or am I remembering this right, or are we still waiting for like the last episode or two to come out on that?
I think we're listening for the last waiting on the last episode, or 12. That was a significant record that credit to Sage. He has been up in literal Alaska, hacking away at that. Like, I assume people who used to live in Alaska hacked away at coal mines or something. I don't know what they do there, but
Panning for gold.
Yeah, like hacking away at the gold panning. Yeah. I haven't used my hands for an honest day's work, as we can all figure out by this point. Suffice all that to say, yeah, I don't know when that's coming out, but eventually. But that was a very fun project to get to do. To call anyone from that show a star is kind, but I think the content certainly is worth that designation, because it's really punching above its weight class in terms of listenership, and that's credit to
the listenership. The production value was always such a, like, the talent obviously was incredible, but the production value that Sage was able to bring to it was always so incredible. I remember that's what really got me through the 2020 season. I don't think it was 2021 season, but just travels and like plane rides and stuff. I I used to have 20-sided stories in my ears to listen
mean-
on the, you know, in my earbuds. So
That means
that's
so much.
that's the way I would travel, from Cleveland to Baltimore or Cleveland to LA or whatever it was.
Well, I can definitely add on to that or attest to that as well, because when my son was born and we had to move in with my in-laws, after paternity leave and getting to work remote for a while, it was like, okay, you got to drive into the office 4 days a week. And so my in-laws, live out in, East Texas, and my work is in Dallas, so I was having to commute in total about 3 hours a day, and it was
Whoa.
really instrumental having 20-sided stories. That's how I got through the Pokemon stuff, and that was really
Wow.
cool to listen to Pokemon and the Marvel stuff.
Marvel
Uh,
series was great.
the Marvel
Thank
series was really good and very inventive. And then of course, even more recently, like with the pirates of the public domain, has been very
Yeah.
fun. Speaking to me as someone who loves pirates and the Pirates of the Caribbean when that came out in the early 2000s and all that time. Like, so it's just
Sure.
the internet and piracy, and like that's just very fun and very clever.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I encourage anybody who, if any of these keywords are setting off a little light bulb in your head, go check it out, because everybody works way too hard on it, particularly Sage. Like, a lot of this stuff, particularly this pirate season, is like singular vision, seen through with no just tyranny of will stuff. I'm just going to do this, and I'm going to do it until it gets done, and I'm not going to call it done until it's what I want. And usually that leads to ruin, and it might have led to ulcers, but it led to a pretty good show too.
And that captain, the voice acting on the captain is just fantastic. I love
That is
that.
also my roommate, David Mitchmerheisen, who we have been friends since
David's a
third
character.
grade. Yeah, he is a character just in life. That's funny. He's in bed right now. I'll tell him that after we're done.
Oh, good. Very nice.
Yeah.
No, wake him up right now. Make him an unofficial guest on the podcast. No, just kidding.
I can't think of anything he'd. No offense to you, but he's like, I think I've podcasted enough for 1 decade.
Fair enough. Yeah, and so if you haven't listened to Athletics Check yet, you've had Amy Vorpal was the inaugural episode, and you've had most recently Iffy was on, and then the one that I was kind of surprised about and really did enjoy was Senior McElroy. I was like, that was a really cool episode to listen to him talk about the old timers and hanging out and stuff like that. So
Yeah, we've had some really fun people on the show. Obviously, if you are a TTRPG fan, which if you're listening to this podcast, I would assume you are, Amy Vorpal, Clint McElroy, Iffy Wadaway, all these names that you would know. Coming up, we have Beth's episode coming up soon, and we have a very cool episode with Ned Donovan and Kari Payton. The creators of this is Travis is responding to
very cool, because I very messed it up.
It was an outdoor episode that we lost the light, unfortunately, because of one of the hosts of the show ended up forgetting a piece of equipment that was very necessary, unfortunately. But
at the time, I wasn't a host; I was just a tech. So
but they're the creators of Encounter Party. It's an awesome show. Ned is a good friend of mine. Kari is a talent by anybody's estimation. He is an incredible actor. And then we get to talk to, not only do we get to talk to nerds about their sports interests, but we get to talk to athletes about what they're nerdy about. So the first episode with an athlete was with a good friend of mine by the name of Reed Sinnott, who is a quarterback in the UFL this season and played very well, but was also in the NFL for a number of years. Could very well go back to the NFL now that his season is over. But he backed up guys like Tom Brady, Joe Burrow, Tua Tagovailoa. I butchered that. Yep. No, I butchered it.
Well, crap. Now I can't remember how it goes. Tagovailoa. I got it.
Tagovailoa. Thank you.
Yeah.
but yeah, Reed is a guy that is a good friend of mine and somebody that I really look up to. And then the next athlete episode was Ryan Nemeth, who is an AEW wrestler, the Hollywood Hunk, and he is one of the funniest people. He's a part-time comedian, like he's a stand-up and improver, and just a really interesting guy. And that man is obsessed with sharks.
Great.
He
Coming up
loves
Shark Week.
sharks
Yeah. I'm
so much.
surprised they didn't ask him to host it. They have John Cena doing it, and they didn't
I
ask
know.
him.
They should, but it was so fun to get into that and kind of the history, because he was just in the recent Iron Claw movie, and he's he's a really great guy. So future episodes, we have some really cool athletes coming up, and sports personalities. We're kind of keeping the everything pretty, like, the scope pretty wide, because who's to say that Travis isn't a jock, or that I'm not a nerd, or what have you.
Right.
I mean, I
did. I think make you the nerd, like the assumptive nerd in that situation.
Which is funny because you play way more Dungeons and Dragons than I do, but your jock stats are so unbelievably, as the kids would say, OP, that it just relegates me to nerd by just comparison.
Hey, we're gonna get that elbow fixed. Don't you worry.
Hey, we're doing all right. Now I'm working on. Oh man, I got this butt thing. I got a butt nerve problem.
Oh, good.
Working on
I'm sure the listeners want to listen about that.
Butt nerves. Look, sciatica. It's not a hoax.
Okay, Kurt, what do you got?
You heard it here first.
Sure. Yeah. Well, this is an interesting.
Get us off this line of thinking.
Sure. So this is an interesting dynamic, because this is Travis's first time on the show, and this is a revisit for Johnny. So in one way, it gets to be like a recapitulation of the questions for Johnny, but then for Travis, this is a fresh take. So you were mentioning, Johnny plays way more D&D than me, which is a perfect segue to the question. Have you ever played D&D, or certainly in Johnny's case, since the last time we spoke, which would have been, your individual episode and the panel episode, what more D&D have you done, or TTRPGs have you done?
Travis, do we want to answer for each other, or do you want to answer for yourself?
I mean, okay, if I could answer for you, I would just say, what D&D haven't you done?
Okay, I'll answer for myself, because this is the part where I get to plug something else.
Yeah. This is too important to let me fumble.
I don't want you to mess it up. No, so I have been playing Dungeons and Dragons, but a lot of it just because I've been so busy with a D&D book, a 5th edition book that we are kickstarting, that I haven't been able to play as much as I'd like if it wasn't for streams or for live shows that are coming up. So, for example, basically what this is we're creating this 5th edition book for tattoos and pirates called Sink, SINK, exclamation point. It's very important. We are kickstarting this book. It's got subclasses. It's got its own mini campaign adventure that can run for about 10 sessions, bring you from levels 10 to from 3 to 10 or so. We have a bunch of magic item tattoos, enough that we're going to be able to fill out a whole playing card deck, which we're very excited about the art for. We have modular dungeons, plug and play adventure kind of thing, that even if you're not playing a pirate campaign or even in islands in general, you can just plug this into your game and have a dungeon, as opposed to like a one shot that you can plug and play. This is a dungeon that'll be like, you'll be able to handle yourself through a couple sessions while your players push through this dungeon. Sync, we're very, very excited for Sync. It launches in September. But the best way to be able to be notified about all of the very cool things, as well as get on the VIP list, and the VIP list gets you access to an exclusive pin that you can get for $1 that won't be available during the campaign, called the Storm in a Bottle pin. It's filled with glitter and it's liquid. It looks like a ship in a bottle. It's very fun. But the best way to keep in touch with what we've got going on is by going to get.synkrpg.com. We've got a couple live shows coming. I don't know when this is going on, but we have a San Diego Comic-Con. August 7th. Okay, so this is unfortunately after a San Diego Comic-Con and Gen Con shows.
It was great though, wasn't it? Boy,
it was so good. I wasn't nervous at all, and I'm sure I did perfectly. But we've got some really cool people in that, and that's kind of what I got going on. Travis, you talk now.
I just want to point out that nothing encapsulates, to my mind, the range that athletics check represents more than an NFL fullback saying, "Yeah, it's called a storm in a bottle. It's got glitter. It's great." Just like if you needed to know where the spectrum, like the walls were of the building, that's how
layers.
Yeah, that's where the goalposts are. Me talk now about my D&D experience. Well, most of my time engaging with tabletop is in the editing room, where I'm cutting Dungeons and Daddies bonus content, monthly bonus content, their new Kingdom Dad Monster series. My roommate Esther and I, as you can tell, my career is largely based out of like nepotism. People just hiring each other and handing the same $20 bill back and forth
than anything else.
Yeah. It's like somewhere between like nepotism, proximity, laziness, and knowing that we can all be kind of accountable to each other, but also knowing we can get one over on each other. If it's like, oh, I'm late, don't be mad at me.
I interrupted Travis, but Esther Ellis, the main editor for the Daddies podcast, is another one of his roommates.
This is correct. Esther Ellis, self-made editor, creator of the fiction podcast Station Blue, also the Goblet Wire, and some show we've been working on since 2018 that'll come out probably never, but if it does, it's going to be good. And also on the 20-sided stories Marvel season.
That's right.
The supporting players.
Yeah.
And what else?
Also instrumental with the Story Break as well, which is another fantastic podcast, which I wish it would come back, but I understand why they're not doing it, but I wish it would come back.
Yeah, sometimes revenue just wins out, you know? Also instrumental in that they're now learning to play the theremin. And also my big time clown pal, as we've been going to the east side of Los Angeles pretty regularly as of late.
How did that go on Sunday?
Oh, it's great. I don't really know. I was in sort of like a fever dream state of live scoring a bunch of silent clown performances. Esther had a great time. Their second round particularly went really well. And yeah, improv is dead. Long live clown. It's great. But D&D, I haven't really played it in a while. Anything tabletop adjacent. It's not for lack of wanting. It's just for lack of time. And to be honest, like my involvement with 20-sided stories as an actor was largely born out of my relationship with Sage and some of the original cast from our community college improv team. And this was just an extension of that. And in such, we all sort of were a little lukewarm on D&D proper, which is why those systems for every season were homebrewed. Now, Sage didn't need to create a whole system, but again, he's singular of mind and desire, and I respect him for that deeply. So a lot of those were kind of bare bones, flexible one-pagers or something to that effect, where they were dynamic in that, like with the Pokemon season, 20-sided stories, we were able to use like a battle emulator to do the battles like you would on the Game Boy, as opposed to like rolling die. Marvel had some Infinity Stone stuff. Pirates, I still don't understand how that combat works. And then the one shots were even more kind of parsed down, and things is sort of unique as like in the hospital drama episode, like using monologues as opposed to like attack rolls.
Oh my God, I forgot about that episode.
I need to go back and listen to all this now.
In the DBZ episode, using unnecessary exposition to get bonuses on attempts of things.
Ridiculous.
So with that, like I've had experience long before playing Pathfinder and like a little bit of 5e, like once or twice now and then, but I find my taste, this is such a long answer, to be more of the arcade variety. Like I like short repeatable experiences, even in like my gaming habits. Like I'd rather play Super Smash Brothers or Burnout 3 than like Final Fantasy. Just let's do something that I can do fun, quick, disposable, you know, more about the people than the mechanics, which is not to say that seems to be kind of the vibe in the pop culture D&D community as it were anyways, story over mechanics.
Baldur's Gate 3.
Right. And then that and in gaming, Baldur's Gate, which is just video game D&D. So I appreciate that about where the industry, which is cool that we get to use that term, is now, where it's like story and characters and personality over mechanics. I just still have that bias from 2008 where it's like it's either crunchy or it's not. You know, so and it's just you can try to get anybody together to play more than 2 times in a row. Like it doesn't work unless you make it a podcast.
A lot of the like the goal of getting a gaming table together in the first place is to be around the people that you love, the people that you want to be able to joke around with. And you already have a lot of that with like, you know, being roommates with 17 people who are all like creators in their own right.
I live in a shoe. Why would I be German in that scenario? It's fine.
Oh, you know, grim fairy tales and all that, I
That's
suppose.
it. That's it. Sorry, I am as a disclaimer to you all and to the listeners. I started a new job this week, and I'm readjusting my sleep schedule, so I'm on fumes right now.
You're doing great.
Thank you.
You're doing excellent, and I'll try and make sure that I'm brief where I need to be brief. So
just rein me in. Tell me to shut up. It's fine.
No. I think Andrew on his podcast said like, no, the whole point of a podcast is that like the guest talks, because it's like not as exciting when the host is just blathering on and on. It's like, no, I invited my guests, and I want my guests to be able to express themselves. So that's totally the vibe here as well. So
very kind.
You're welcome. And as this podcast is called Sidekicks and Side Quests, we like to focus on the background characters, you know, not the main characters and not the main stories. So the first of those questions here, who happens to be your favorite NPC or sidekick character, whether they be from TTRPG, video game, movie, film, television, etc. And why is this character your favorite NPC or sidekick character? Or in Johnny's case, what's a new or interesting kind of sidekick or NPC character you've come across, and why is this new character interesting to you?
Travis, you go first.
Yeah, it came to me immediately. I don't even know if this is true or not, but Improv Instincts, it's Milhouse from The Simpsons.
Very strong NPC energy.
Alf's back in Pog form. Like, can't be, you know, his username was Thrillhouse, but it stopped after Thrill Ho. Like, it's bulletproof. The band teacher going, nobody likes Milhouse. Like, it's just like, there's not to my mind, a better encapsulation from a childlike or adult perspective of what it is to have a loser best friend. And boy, love him for it.
For me, I'll go with a great choice, by the way. For me,
Thanks.
I'll go with a show, the most recent show that I watched, which was season 3, The Bear. And I don't know, like I would say maybe Cousin Richie is a little bit of a sidekick. Not that he would ever admit that, but I think especially since he went through his stage over at Ever at the big Michelin star restaurant. He's definitely like kind of taken on that role, but he's a sidekick that will give you no nonsense. He'll put you in your place. Say what you will about season 3. I have plenty to say about it, but I think he's definitely one that stands out.
Okay. And then same thing with the side quest question. What's been one of your favorite side quests or B plot elements in any of those categories that I mentioned before? And why is this B plot element or side quest your favorite, or new side quest your favorite?
Well, speaking to my personal experience, it'd have to be, this isn't immediate, this is just my life, doing a lot of clown in Los Angeles. It's been a hell of a side quest. I don't make any money on it, neither does anybody else, but it's a really fun art form that I find fascinating.
Yeah, I was gonna say there was a TikTok trend that I saw. I don't know if it was a trend, it was just one video where this brother and sister were talking about side quests that they went on through their life of like, hey, remember when you went to Australia for 3 months and then you came back like with an accent or something? Just like that kind of idea that like getting to recognize side quests in other people or in yourself, that like, oh, that was a weird part of my life that like just kind of gave me the experience points to get me further along in my main quest. Yeah, I think one of my favorite ones that come to mind in terms, like, again, I don't think we're necessarily answering the way that that you're expecting us to for like side quests, but learning the ukulele was always a favorite one of mine, because that was literally a side quest for me my senior year of high school. Nice. Because that I was trying to figure out how to spend my time while recovering from my ACL injury. I'm like, learning the ukulele sounds like a fun way of doing that. And it became a personality for a good year or so.
Big man, small guitar.
Exactly.
Speaking outside of myself, it came to mind, though it is still in the real life, trying to draw some more sports and nerd crossovers. it's a bit of a meme at this point, but the Jimmy Butler regular season side quests.
Yes.
You know, he started a coffee company. He'll go to Brazil. He'll tame horses.
Straighten
He'll
his
show up.
hair.
Yeah, do the emo swoop for Media Day, do the dreads for Media Day. Jimmy Butler is a basketball player, plays for the Miami Heat, noted eccentric, and just picks side. And one of his teammates was quoted as saying, "Yeah, I don't know. Jimmy just kind of does side quests throughout the regular season and then locks in for the playoffs." And the quote was under him riding a horse in New York City. And it's like, yep, that's what that is.
I don't know if there's ever been a better encapsulation of what the NBA season looks like. Like, yeah, you don't have to pay attention until the playoffs start anyway.
Yeah. Not our players don't even.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
What about you, Kurt?
Me?
Do you have a favorite? Yeah.
A favorite side quest. Ooh. I'm just trying to think of the last couple of games that I've played. You know, with a 3-year-old running around the house, I can't exactly just be like, "Oh, Dead Island 2," like exploding zombie heads are totally fine for a 3-year-old to see. But no, just I finally finished Star Wars Fallen Order, Jedi Fallen Order
Nice.
with Cal
I
Kestis.
wanted to play that.
Nice.
And I think it was really fun doing the side quests, which is basically just fighting all the collectibles, which is really fun. Of like, the main starting planet. Like, you know, I was like, I want to get these secrets, but how do I do it? It's like, oh, I have to play the game and like learn the skill to be able to double jump and wall run, to be able to swing on the vine, to like finally get to the area that I needed to find the Force Echo or whatever it was, to, you know, work my way to basically near completion of everything in the game. So that was a fun game. And it's like, I know with my just most recent previous guest, Wes Merle, we were like, oh yeah, this Outlaws game is coming out where you get to be like a Han Solo type, but I'm waiting for the Mandalorian game to come out. Like, I would be more interested getting to be like a Mandalorian, getting to make like all my armor and all that stuff, and get to just be taking on Jedi or whatever it is. So that'd be really cool.
I'm sure Disney has all the plans in the works.
Jon Favreau, Filoni, get on it.
Yeah.
Learn to code.
Do it.
Get behind the screen.
Learn Unreal.
And then the way that we round out the personal interview section of this show is we ask the question, what are you passionate about and why? Or what's a new passion or hobby that you've picked up since the last we spoke, and why?
Oh, I don't know. I did a TED Talk about in
Flex.
in March that just went live
I don't
recently.
know.
Oh, I don't know. Must
I
be
was
my
doing a TED
TED
Talk the other day.
No, I did a TED Talk about, like, it was called Discover Your And it was all about allowing your passions to create like a more well-rounded person, like explore more, allow that exploration to help you discover passions and use those passions to become a more well-rounded person, to become, you know, a better employee, a better person, a more like interesting person. I think I don't know. I feel like I'm not encapsulating my TED Talk very well.
Go watch the TED Talk. It was fantastic.
Go watch it.
Yeah,
thank you. It was interesting to do. I wouldn't say like that was a passion of mine. Like, I think I can see myself getting into more public speaking, but good Lord, I was nervous about it. And I don't know if I can make that like a regular thing that I'm passionate about. I was just talking to somebody last night about...
Never mind that you go into these screaming nerd conventions with like tens of thousands of people cheering you on while you play D&D, and somehow giving a lecture in a lecture hall is more terrifying.
Or spend a decade getting
academic
into human car crashes voluntarily.
Yeah, that's true. No, but that's like that. The TED Talk experience was like, I need to pretend to be an academic, somebody who got a kinesiology degree in college. You need to like stand up in front of people and talk as if you know things. I always spoke between a student that made like a scientific discovery, and then one of like the most like prominent, foremost LGBTQ journalists, somebody that I look up to in the world. And I'm like, why? I've just played football and decided to talk about Dungeons and Dragons every once in a while. Why am I here? That was my experience with that. And I think I did an okay job, but yeah, it was my answer to that question is more about like talking about passions is something that I'm passionate about, which I think led me to athletics check.
Yeah. Just let the dead air hang. Don't cut this out. Just let it hang.
Just sit in it. It feels
We're
good.
gonna wait for the duration of Johnny's TED Talk so you can come back.
Oh,
and
good.
have
17 minutes and 54 seconds.
Holy, that's awesome.
Yeah, the cutoff is 18 minutes.
Wow. Nice getting under the wire there.
I don't exactly know what the time was, but yeah.
That was because I had forgotten the question entirely. I was so enraptured by thinking about your TED Talk and considering the winding journey that is your life to this point. But now I remember. Also, sidebar, but I was listening to NPR the other day because I'm that kind of person, and there was this local LA story about how there's like a lot of residual anxiety around that like Tustin like that dome fire thing.
Oh,
yeah, and I remember when I just associate Tustin with, you don't live there anymore, but like I just associate that with you.
Yeah.
And this is again what I'm talking about when I say I'm running on fumes.
Is that what you're passionate about? The Tustin.
Yeah, the Tustin dome
so
fire.
You know, this was a big Southern California thing, but we have listeners, I'm sure, all over the country. This is this was a big airplane hangar, a blimp hangar. Actually.
Yeah, airplane hangar.
Aircraft carrier
from World War II,
from
right?
World War II.
Yeah,
that was made of wood and burnt. And there are two of them in Tustin, in Orange County, California, and one of them burnt down.
Oof.
Just like seeming, you know. Everything happens that one day it's not burned down, then the next day it is. But it's one of those like, oh, that burned down? I almost didn't think it could do that. When you hear about it, like, yeah, and unfortunately released a significant amount of both asbestos and lead into the atmosphere, which now has, from what I understand, and I'll test to confirm, has largely been cleared up. But there's still a lot of what's the word they use for it? Toxic anxiety, not in like the way that you'd see it as a TikTok tag, but just like people are anxious about that there might still be toxins.
Not like the weaponized therapy term.
Yeah. So that's not what I'm passionate about, even though it sounds like it. I already talked about clown. Dare not I say clown for the third time? That would be gauche. I didn't know this question was coming. What did you say? TED Talks? I don't know, digging holes in the dirt. No, we're getting
throwing
back.
Parties in your backyard.
Yeah, seemingly this weekend. Good Lord. I live in Los Angeles in a house that has a backyard, which is in itself, if anybody knows anything about Los Angeles, that's a blessing in and of itself. And it is arranged as such to where we have pretty free reign in terms of like noise and time that like events can go to. So we occasionally have parties or even full-blown shows here in our backyard. And I think all of us as creatives, be it part or full-time or aspiring in whatever way or professional in some ways or whatever, there's this like inherent desire to kind of keep making something more, where it's like, this was cool, what if I did it but more? So what were parties and small events, we're now talking about, okay, how can we build this up to where we can, you know, instead of just having like a band play, let's have them play, and through, you know, multi-track recording, have their performance that we can then give to them. And then I have some other roommates that are videographers. It's like, and then we could set up like a multicam to either stream it or just record it to package after. And then before you know it, you're like, oh, we're doing a tiny desk, except it's medium backyard. And it's like, wait, hold on. I have like a lot of other stuff going on. Is this actually but of course you do, because if you can do it, why not do it? Which I think this is getting so beyond the point of the question. But the thing I like the most about particularly the creative field that we're all in like the nerd space, from say 2017, 18, and especially through COVID to now, is it feels like a new industry was just cracked open, and the barrier to entry isn't low in the sake that it's easy, or in the sense that it's easy, but it's low in the sense that like it's open participation. And if you have an idea, if you can find the right people to do it with, you can not only do it and do it well, but most of the time you can find an audience, and it's an audience that's largely like, the litmus is like, are you a good hang and cool and like good to people? Which, as somebody who comes from music and a little bit of acting and theater, industries that have been around so long that they are just jaded, like at a baseline. This not that nothing is without its issues, but it's a really cool space to be in for the fact that, you know, you've been trying to get me on the show for 3 years. This isn't out of any ill will or animosity. I just keep forgetting. But you're like, yeah, man, come on. It's like, wow. Anyone in the other industry, that would have been like, well, excuse my French, that guy.
I think what's cool is that because it's such a new industry and because there aren't like the old heads at the top of it, there isn't like this. It's so self-policing that
That's
like
a great way to put that. Yeah.
Yeah, there's you can't stand at the top for very long while being a bad person, and
Yeah.
you know there hasn't been a whole lot of rotation of like who's at the top. You know, it's pretty much just like
Critical Role.
3 groups. Yeah,
Right. I mean, you've had other people, I suppose, that have had their, you know, their spotlight shown on them when, you know, it's been like bad behavior, and I try and keep this place pretty family friendly and not, you know, negative saying and naysaying and all that sort of kind of stuff. So, but I mean, yeah, I acknowledge that, you know, we're all human, we're sinners, and so some people are going to like mess up, and you know, maybe in this day and age it's easier to just be like, hey, let's, you know, maybe they're not invited at my table anymore, I can work to forgive them, you know, if it's something that I can work towards. But like, you know, hey, maybe it's not the right time for you to be at the table, and maybe you need to like, you know, do some self-reflecting and make those amends and those atonements and
Yeah.
whatnot.
It's a big tent, but it's a morally sound tent that isn't, you know, that doesn't really suffer behavior in the way that some other legacy entertainment industries do,
right.
which is cool. And it seems to attract better people, I say, you know, like, but yeah, good stuff.
Well, very cool. Yeah. So, so it's been fascinating getting to talk with both Travis and Johnny, you know, Johnny and Travis, all that good stuff. And without further ado, I think it's time we head into some NPC creation.
Yes. I hurt myself today.
NPC creation is brought to you by you, the podcast audience, and our patrons from Patreon. That's right. So now is the time of the show where we give a shout out to our comfortable patrons and above with a loud hurrah. So to you, our queen of the Patreon, Katie Downey, aka Goblin Katie, as well as our other wealthy tier patrons, Anson Jablinski and good old mom and dad, we say cheers. So again,
Cheers.
yeah, I love the enthusiasm. Yeah, just a mere $2 a month on Patreon gets you that shout out on every episode. And all the fine folks I mentioned actually get to do what's called introduce an element of chance. So they've contributed suggestions to our random tables for NPC creation, which we might get to use here today. So if you want to learn more about the Patreon, just go to the show notes below, go to the podcast website, or just go directly to patreon.com/sidekicks and sidequests. Learn more about our accommodations that we have awaiting for you in the levitating platter and this demi-plane and worlds beyond. So, while we were waiting to round everyone up for the show, we were kind of debating back and forth, like, oh, is this just going to be Johnny holding Travis's hand through making a character? But then I was explaining, well, no, with 2 guests, sometimes we can do it where each one makes a character, and then we find out, like, through the course of it, what's the relationship between the characters. Or most recently, we had Allison and Ryan on from the Kids Table D&D podcast and Instagram, and they worked together to make a singular character. So kind of with like some of those items in mind, what are we thinking of doing today in NPC creation? Are you each making a character? Are you working together to make one character, or what? What are we doing?
Travis is an improviser not by trade, but like by background. So I think I want to try to keep up with him, and maybe we can improvise a new character.
Make brothers. Let's make brothers.
You want to do brothers?
Yeah, let's make 2 brothers.
Let's do brothers.
So we definitely have the random tables that we can use. We use all the standard array of dice. So you get a chance to roll some dice and then have some fun. So, okay. So brothers. Okay. So that we can definitely work with this. So then the first question that we ask, what is the name of each of your characters? So if you want to roll for that randomly, it's a D20 roll. Or if you just know, just tell us.
I at least have a last name.
Yeah.
We are the Druthers Brothers.
Druthers Brothers. Druthers Brothers. Same.
I feel like I could use it in a sentence, but I don't know what druthers like. What the definition?
If I had my druthers, which is like if I had sort of my wherewithal or my if I had my stuff together, is sort of the implication.
Yeah. Thank you.
Druthers Brothers. I'm gonna be Samuel Druthers.
Okay, so we have a Samuel. Is it an alliterative thing where it's also an S name, or is it different?
Yeah, it's got to be, right.
It could be. Or you could be alliterative with your own last name.
Yeah, I could do not Samuel, but Billums Druthers.
Billums and Sam.
Billums Druthers.
So it's like they couldn't quite figure out if they wanted to be William or Bill, so they're like, let's just sort of
it's
somewhere
not
in the middle.
It's not like Willem Dafoe,
but
it's
Billums.
Billums Druthers.
Billums.
So Billams? Is that how we're spelling it?
Billums.
UMS. And then Druthers, Druthers.
Yes, correct.
Okay, so Billums and Samuel Druthers, the brothers. Okay, all right, fair enough. And then let's see the next question here. What is the ancestry of your characters? So, no assumptions here. You could be the same race,
I feel like
species,
we can roll for this one.
or you could be totally like adoptive brothers or what have you. So yeah, if you want to roll for that randomly, it's a D100 or 2D10 roll.
Oh. Mm-hmm. I'll roll the tens place where you roll the hundreds place. How about that?
Okay. Do I have a 10 here? I have a... Ooh, is this a 10? I think this is a 10. Yes. No. Yes. No. This is what I mean by I don't play D&D much. Yes, because I have a 10. Yes, this is a D10. Yes.
Yeah, this is an audio medium, but yes, show the camera so thus us can see it. Yeah.
Right? So it's
it's a D10.
Okay, you can tell by good. Yes. My geometry is lacking.
Okay, you got the tens place, I got the ones place.
Okay. 57.
57 from the list. Ooh, GIF, hippo folk.
Oh.
Perfect for Space Jammer.
I love that.
Jammer, sorry. Yeah, so
I like that.
Space Jammer. I don't know what I'm thinking. I guess maybe I must be thinking of Michael Jordan and Bugs Bunny, but no. Spelljammer, the Spelljammer setting in the Astral Sea. Okay, a pair of... And Billums Druthers sounds like a very GIF name. So this is very on point.
Now I want to run a game that is Space Jam and Spelljammer.
There you go. Whoa.
Well, get on that. You got Crimson Herald Games. You can do a live stream and be like, okay, we're doing a special one shot of a sports basketball and
welcome our special guest, Michael Jordan.
And I took that personally. That's how the meme works, right? I never watched. I didn't watch the documentary. I'm sorry. I just know the memes.
That's fine. It's 10 parts. It's really very long.
It's very long.
Okay.
It's very good.
And then for the Druthers brothers, we have to figure out the job or occupation for you guys because you're NPCs.
Paralegals.
Paralegals?
Yes.
We are Druthers and Druthers law firm.
But just paralegals. We're a paralegal firm.
We don't have a licensed lawyer.
Neither of us can pass the bar to save our lives.
Okay. I was gonna say you could roll randomly for a D10 if you.
No, we got it.
You're okay. You want to be a pair of paralegals.
A pair of legals.
A pair of legals. Okay.
Druthers and Druthers, paralegal firm, for hire, for actual law firms.
Okay, I like that. That's very funny. That's very good. Hiring yourself out to all the prestigious law firms of the Astral Sea. Very, very good thing to do.
I think Travis is crying now.
I'm not. I'm touched. Woo.
Okay, and then let's see the age range of your characters. So this is a D8 roll. This kind of gives us like a rough category, unless you're just like, I want to spitball a specific number. But if you want to narrow down the range, you could roll a D8.
Let's each do a D100 roll to see how old we are.
Sure. So that means I roll
2 D10s.
2 D10s. Do I have a D100 around here? No, it's in my car. I have like a
But
novelty.
the one that you
D1.
have, the one that you rolled already that has the two digits on it.
Yeah.
On each side, that's the tens place.
Got it.
Oh,
I got a 90.
90?
Oh, no.
What'd you get?
I got a 9.
So Billums is the kid brother?
Yeah.
So 9 and 90. If this is what you want.
Yes.
Druthers and Druthers Brothers paralegal firm. I can just see the ads now.
A cherubic little giff, and then like this wizened older giff brother.
Yeah.
Exact same outfit. It's like twins with Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yes.
Brilliant. Yes. Okay. Well, I think this is leading brilliantly into the next question, because now we get to take a pause on the dice rolling, because now we get to come up with the physical appearance of your character. So we have giff. These are the hippo folk from the Astral Sea Spelljammer setting. You're both this pair of paralegals that seek to hire yourselves to prestigious law firms. And one of you is a child and one of you is an elder at this point. So describe the physical appearance of each of your characters.
Billums is the spitting image of Samuel, but miniaturized.
Whoa. Okay. Nice deflection. Just for reference, I had to look up what GIFs look like, and in the Forgotten Realms wiki, there is a bipedal hippo wearing like captain's regalia with a monocle, smoking a pipe, and holding a gigantic musket, like sawed off musket.
It's basically supposed to be like it's supposed to kind of call back to like colonial England, like as if he was like a safari hunter kind of thing.
I see. Okay, well then let's say Samuel is wearing a standard 3-piece suit but has a safari hat on.
I like it.
Yeah.
I'm going to make sure that the suit is
pinstripe, waistcoat included. We'll give him a waistcoat as well, and it's or the vesting or whatever like that. But yeah, but
that's what 3-piece suit means.
Yeah. I've worn clothes.
Well, okay, so you say, sorry, I was thinking of a plinth helmet, but you actually mean like a safari helmet and not like a plinth helmet.
With the thing on top. Plinth meaning it has a little thing on top, right? The little like...
The plinth is it looks like a helmet. It's got the very tiny brim here in the front, and it's got the bigger brim on the back.
Let's
do
I think we
want like the classic like safari helmet.
Okay, yeah. I'm good with either. I'm Googling so much.
Is it a helmet? What is it made out of?
Good question.
I misspelled plinth.
Yeah, it's definitely hard shell.
Google thought I meant pedestal.
Oh, plinth. Yeah, plinth. Plinth helmet. I guess it's the same. Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
The pith.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, pith helmet.
I said the wrong word.
That's fine. No, plinth. Now I'm realizing plinth is another name for pedestal or like base of a statue.
Oh.
This is an educational show when you get down to it.
The more you learn. Okay, so you're both wearing 3-piece suits and you have these these pith helmets, these safari helmets. And you just present yourselves as these paralegals for hire?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have outrageous pricing.
Yeah,
because there's no other paralegals in the area.
Yeah.
But that's why we have like our own firm, is because we have to work for all of the law firms. There's way too many lawyers, not enough paralegals.
Yeah, just an absolute glut of lawyers, and just nobody thought to aim lower.
Yeah.
Do you work for the Circles of Hell as well? Do you take work from there or not? Because devils and lawyers and all that.
Those are the kind of contracts we work with.
Yeah, I mean, we'll do anyone's paperwork.
I think we do law on behalf of those who have accidentally sold their souls or are trying to get out of their contracts of selling their souls with devils.
We're a non-profit.
Oh no, the thing I thought of immediately was these timeshare lawyers that are like, did you get suckered into a timeshare?
Oh,
we'll do the work for you to get you out of that timeshare.
That's funny. I
We
like
really,
that.
we
I like
really
the idea that
rely on donations, though.
the astral plane is just like this long stretch of road with all the same like rideshare amigo billboards. Like, call Jacob.
Oh
Jacoby
man.
and Myers.
My goodness. Yeah. Sweet James.
Yeah.
Morgan and
Okay.
Morgan. Those are law firms.
This is
Anne
Druthers
Fong.
but this is Druthers and Druthers
Something
paralegal
wrong?
firm.
Call Anne Fong.
All right, let's move on.
Okay, so I mean, as far as the physical, appearance, I'm just trying to think. So, I don't have it in front of me immediately to know like what the game says, like a typical life expectancy for gifts are. I know in my setting,
Better be 99. We're
Could be
up.
91.
uh, I know in my personal homebrew setting of the Astral Sea, I usually equate that place as like being timeless, or like basically whatever your normal lifespan would be, you basically increase it by a factor of like 10 to 12, and like that's
Okay.
how much longer your life is expanded. So you could be like 90 years old, but you could still be like still look youthful or whatever. So that might be how I play with it in my homebrew, but like someone else be like, oh, 90. So are we imagining him like a super old, like like a Ebenezer Scrooge sort of
I
a
don't want to make
guy?
any decisions for Samuel, but I think he has a soul patch.
Sure. Yeah. I like, and that feels like somebody, and this is great they're establishing this, because looking at the sort of the wiki sheet, I like it playing by your homebrew rules, because otherwise the average lifespan is 70. But something else of note, the alignment in the 5th edition statistics is lawful neutral, which
That feels right in line with what we're doing.
Yeah, we backed into this. This is great. I would say, yeah, it's the lifespan is, increased by a factor of 10 or whatever it was. So we're just hitting our prime here, which means soul patch hippo.
Which means Billums is like next to just having been born.
Yeah.
Right. So that's an interesting story. So how did Samuel come to be in charge of his literal kid brother? Like, it seems weird that like, oh, your kid brother is also a paralegal too, but like, Billums could be very intelligent.
Parents are on vacation right now.
Yeah. I would say that the first language, little known fact, but the first language that gifts are introduced to is actually legalese.
I see.
Maybe we had like a devil like babysitter or something, and that's how we kind of got. Maybe that's how, like, that was your babysitter, and that's how we got introduced to like the whole concept of like contracts and law, and like we just got tutored by a devil in legalese.
Yeah, this works for me. Did you guys know there's something in second
This is
edition
just Travis
called
reading the wiki.
a death minnow?
Yeah, D&D is a weird place.
It's a small fish that can kill you.
Pretty cool. Pretty metal.
Yeah. There's also an entry. There's an entry for something called Long Road.
Okay.
Yep, it's just
Sure.
a long road. All right. Anyways.
Kurt, what's the next question? You
Okay,
cannot leave
sure.
this up to Travis for now.
Okay, so I was just kind of curious if you guys had crafted the story, or sometimes in this podcast, if you don't have an answer, it's just perfectly okay to be like, we'll just leave it up to the interpretation of whichever DM or player character decides to introduce these characters in their game or backstory or whatever. So I was just curious if it was Travis and Johnny was suggesting like, oh, it was the infernal babysitter, and that's how we learned all about contracts and stuff like that.
I like that.
I think what happened was that Samuel was having a really hard time keeping up with all of the work that all of the law firms were putting on the one paralegal firm, that he needed a paralegal. So that's where I come in.
Nice.
So I'm
Yeah.
So Billums is the paralegal, and
Yeah.
to assist for Samuel.
Though, just on the record, 2-word joke, infernal babysitter, pretty great. I don't
Perfect.
mind that being a part of it.
I love it.
Also.
Okay. And then are mom and dad still in the picture or not?
It sounds like a Goosebumps title.
They're in the picture on our desk, that's for sure.
Yeah. Mom and dad, I think, have didn't come back from the grocery store. I think one day.
They were they perished in a slip and fall at the grocery store, which is what got us.
And we're still fighting the legal battle to
Yeah,
be able
it's
to
like
get
a-
justice.
Borderline, like near Full Metal Alchemist scenario. Like, oh, they were going to get dinner or something. I don't know. And then they had a slip and fall. And then we've dedicated our lives to legalese to try to get, because we feel like the grocery store got one over on us.
Yeah, at some point we're going to be able to win that legal battle that's been ongoing for decades.
To win the legal fight against the astral plane equivalent of the Cronky family.
Okay. And
that's the big bad.
Oh, the big bad. Okay.
Yeah.
If you had to describe each of your brothers with 3 adjectives, what 3 adjectives would you use?
So I'm describing Samuel?
No, you would be describing Billums.
Oh, I'm describing Billums. Okay.
Yeah, okay, which of your you own each of your brothers, but which 3 adjectives best describe them? Kind of knowing what we know already.
I think self-serious. I don't think Billums can laugh at himself. I think he just takes himself very seriously.
For a 9-year-old, that's great. Let's see. 3 adjectives. Large.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a big giff. He's a big man.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess I'll go with miniature since I'm large but mini version. No, I'll figure something out.
Excitable. And scheming.
Okay.
I think Billums is malleable.
Nice.
And yeah, I think impressionable, malleable, I think is because miniature was one of mine.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I totally see the simpatico, the jiving, the vibing between each of the brothers and how
this is turning into like a Disney brother. This is like Onward right now.
Onward. Yeah, no, I love that movie. It was great. So, okay, now we get to go back to potentially some dice rolling. So we like all of our NPCs to have something cool on them, whether it's going to be a valuable item, a piece of lore, a secret, or an ideal or concept that the character ascribes to. So, typically if, you're spitballing it, then you can maybe throw in a couple, but if you want like a concrete thing from the tables, you would roll a D4 first for the category, and then you roll a D6 for the particular thing.
What are the categories again?
A valuable item, a piece of lore, a secret, or an ideal or concept that they would ascribe to.
Personally, for Samuel has with him at all times an Olympic gold medal.
In what event?
Shot put.
All right.
Not his.
You just found it floating in the Astral Sea?
Yeah. You never know what's going to wash up.
Very true. I have a working theory that, all these magic items that exist as far as extra dimensional spaces, that there is some portion of the Astral Sea where there's just like clusters of these items all just floating around. And so if you were really scheming and enterprising, you would try to find this pocket of space so that way you could literally just go up and steal everything out of people's bags without them knowing.
The astral trash barge, as it were.
Yeah, do you keep this medal like behind your desk, like framed as if it was yours?
No, suit pocket.
Suit pocket.
It gives me +1 to, hey, look at this.
Nice.
And hey, it's it's worth it's gold, because if it's a solid gold medal, then it's it's however many gold pieces of value that would be. So you've always got collateral on your person, I suppose.
And Samuel's convinced that it gives him an air of to be taken seriously.
I think Billums is the only living speaker or reader of a language that he thinks he made up in childhood, but it turns out to be like this specific key to unlock this like contract or something that
Oh, wow.
that he can read, but
This
nobody
is
else
how
can.
you know someone plays D&D. This is useful.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like gold medal thing. What the hell's that, man?
It's funny. It's a good bit. He's got an Olympic. He's a big hippo that's a paralegal with Olympic gold medal. That's bits for days.
That's fair. That's fair.
And so Billums thinks that he's made up this language and he's the only one that can speak it, but really it is the cipher necessary to figure out like some complex sort of legal agreement that's floating out there in the world.
Yeah, he's tried to teach Samuel this language a number of times, but it's way too complicated, and Samuel does not care enough.
No, not at all.
It's like Gen Z speak or something like
Yeah.
that. We're just like, I don't know what a skibbity toilet is, and I'm too afraid to ask at this point.
He just says skibbity a lot. Travis, you work with kids a lot. What's the newest Gen Z or Gen Alpha term?
Okay, they're kind of without like signature slang so far as I can tell. That said, they are like into a lot of the hallmarks of like mid 2000s hot topic mall culture.
Nice.
Like it's back. Like Raw or So Random is back.
Oh God, really?
Yeah. Oh, big way. It's crazy. I've got some students, one that I'm keeping, even though I started the new job with at school, who unironically wants to learn like every Korn song.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, like it's like we're circling back around.
The circle gets smaller and smaller every time.
Yeah, the general vibe is internet poisoning. They're all just irradiated with online.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our future.
So they are pretty funny. Well, I had a 5th grade student who shall go names. So I'm going to out them on a podcast. Who one time I asked them how school was going. They're like, "Ah, it's all right. The kids in my class started a petition to have me put down," and
I remember this story.
It's like, I've never been funny. I thought I was funny. I've never been funny. That's the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Oh goodness.
Yeah, and then she wanted to learn the Red Jumpsuit Apparatus song that used to be really popular.
Face Down.
Face Down, exactly.
Good call.
Yeah.
Not me, just browsing through YouTube for early 2000s songs while I was at work, and I saw that song. Was like, oh yeah, red jumpsuit apparatus, Face Down. Yeah.
Second Stage Warped Tour. Let's go.
All right, so we've got our valuables figured out for each character, and then of course we like all of our NPCs to be able to offer up side quests. So, is there a side quest that each brother offers individually, or is there like a side quest together that they need to offer a bunch of hero characters who are going to come across them that they need their help?
No, I think it's together.
Last dice to roll a D12, or otherwise, talk amongst yourselves, figure out what you want to do.
This feels important.
Do we want to roll that D12?
Can we roll the D12 for inspiration?
Sure.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, let's do that.
You want me to roll?
Yes, please.
That's a 9.
9. Aha. Well, let's see how this goes. Okay. So this answer was suggested by one of my lovely live audience members when I was at FateCon, who asked to be credited as MK. And the way this answer was phrased was, retrieve 3 buckets of a particular bodily fluid from a particular animal for whatever they need it for.
Ah, blood to sign contracts.
Oh.
Yeah.
Usually it has to be your blood, right?
I mean,
for like the devil part?
We don't have to. The devil doesn't have to know that.
What if there is like, so this is the Astral Sea, right? Like pretty much anything can exist. What if there is a creature in the Astral Sea that like mimics like your blood type, or like your like it, like if you like it can, not only can it like work as like kind of a transfusion type thing, but it can like, if you write it, basically the idea is if you use it for ink in a devil's contract, it thinks that it used your blood.
It's legally binding blood.
Exactly.
It's legally binding.
But it does allow for like loopholes and contract outs and stuff where like this is their specific, this is what makes them so sought after as paralegals.
But the catch is the animal is adorable and sentient.
And you have to get 3 buckets. So we said blood. Yeah.
Gallon buckets.
Yep. That's what you have to do.
Good luck.
Well,
what does this animal look like?
I am running a home. I'm with a friend. And it's all by Google Docs as well. Very, very fascinating way to play one-on-one D&D. But it is a Spelljammer campaign, and so I am kind of steeped in the setting. And I do happen to know that the giant space whales, Kindori. So it's like a giant whale. So kind of like in Star Wars, as we saw with the Ahsoka show, and probably it was back in like Clone Wars and Rebels and stuff like that. But the giant space whales that allow for hyperspace travel or whatever. But in D&D, it's just Kindori. They're the giant space whales that fly through the Astral Sea.
I will say, as much as I love that, I think the whale is too big for people to think that they can't get 3 buckets of blood out of them without killing the whale. So I think that we're really making them like, you really have to hurt your like.
This is a moral fork in the road. This is
a moral quandary for you if you're going to try to do this. This animal is a cross between a pony and a rabbit, and it's the size of a dog.
The Almirage?
Oh my god!
Are you talking about Almirage?
I'm not talking about Almirage. I think Almirage. I'm thinking is pretty much just a bunny. I'm thinking of like this is a dog-sized bunny, but has like the limbs like a horse, but it's fuzzy.
I said cute, Johnny. That sounds horrifying.
No, it's cute.
Or
it's
a giant
dick
space
kind of?
hamsters.
Has anybody here ever seen a dick before?
Yes.
Yeah,
not in person, but a picture. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like those things, like little big-eyed antelopes. We could have bunny ears or something like that.
The whole famous Boo and Minsk, is like he's a miniature giant space hamster, but in Spelljammer, like there are the giant space hamsters. So,
how big do those get?
I mean, I think they're like large-sized creatures.
If you had to measure them in buckets, how many buckets would you say they are? I also defer to your Spelljammer expertise. Whatever you feel like is the most functional version
I'm fine
of
with
this.
going official.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's your brothers, it's your characters. So I mean,
I
I'm
like
just
this.
thinking suggestions.
I think it's got to be a new character because we're creating new lore for this. And I don't think the giant space hamsters have blood that can deceive devils.
True. Yeah. Okay, so you want to leave this open then to invention. So it's like some sort of like cross, but so you were suggesting like some sort of cross between like
dick pic.
Okay.
They're kind of dog-sized already. Also,
dick dicks are tiny. They're like this big.
Are they? Oh wow, I have no concept of how big dick dicks are.
I think they're pretty small.
So, I would also say that as the DM of this, if there's something that feels more like lore appropriate to characters, I think there may be room for massaging there, as there always is. But I do like, I like the idea though. But
okay, so it's a very rare animal here in the Astral Sea. So it is going to be a bit of a chore to have to go seek these things out, or dare I say, because I'm looking at some of the other suggestions here, because one of the other random suggestions that in recent episodes has been rolled multiple times, but just hasn't fit the character as far as like deliver a breeding pair of a rare species of animal to reserve to help them repopulate their numbers. So, seeing that and then just, thinking about how this answer has been crafted of like, oh, the reason why these things are so rare is because like they were hunted, to a near point of extinction. And so you're being asked to like, oh, we just need you to break into this reserve and, just get 3 buckets of blood from these.
Push them further towards extinction because we need these contracts inked yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, if the party has to figure out an infernal contract themselves,
infernal contract,
highly motivated to do it.
Okay.
I mean, hey, maybe they don't have to do it, and then they got to figure out how to deal with that.
Okay. So, well, this
Life is
this is leading.
complicated. Not everything can be black and white,
Yeah.
Not everything can be as black and white as a devil's contract.
but it can be red all over, which is to say 3
Oh,
buckets
yeah.
of blood.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah. Well, I think this leads in nicely then, because we have to figure out, based on the side quest, what's going to be the reward for the players. So if they go to wherever these creatures are, they retrieve the 3 buckets of blood, and they come back to the pair of paralegals and say, "Here are your 3 buckets of blood." How are they going to reward the party?
They get
3 buckets.
they get the 3 buckets is what you're saying?
Yeah, they can get more, but it's like we don't need these.
No, I think what it is you become prepared for when you come across a devil that is trying to offer up a bargain with you.
We will do your contract negotiation.
We will do your contract negotiations, and we can do it in a way that will allow you an out in the future.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
So it gives you like the upper hand in those negotiations, and like, you know, you get a little one up on any kind of infernal that's trying to offer a contract.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you get 3 buckets.
Oh, and then Samuel just wants to give you the buckets.
Well, it's like I didn't need the buckets. I need the blood. You can have the buckets. I don't want these buckets.
Yeah. We wash our hands of these buckets.
Yeah. I want contraband around here. Get that out of here.
Yeah.
I was going to say, if
Monster?
it's
You don't want
there in the tables in the player's handbook, then I guess, yeah, if you wanted to give buckets, there you go. So unless you were going to be like, oh, these are buckets that I found in the Astral Sea as well. It turns out they're made of like solid platinum or whatever.
Sure. Hey, that's to your discretion. If they're a particularly needy party, you can make them whatever out of whatever you want. But get them out of our office.
Diamond buckets.
Yeah.
Okay, very cool. And then, but now we have to consider the opposite. What's going to be the consequence of failure or refusing the call to the adventure? So the brothers have come across these heroes, gave them this job.
Mm-hmm.
They don't come back with the buckets of blood. You
get the wrong end of the strong arm of the Astral Sea legal system.
Yeah, you get sued. We sue you
for not doing this illegal
for
job.
breach of contract.
Yes.
And you got to go through trial, and it's going to be at least a whole session, and it's going to be really boring. You got to do mock trial.
Okay, so
the most boring D&D session of all time.
Well, I don't know. I was expecting a twist of I don't know. Somehow it comes back to the brothers. Like maybe in the thing of trying to get the blood, all the animals get killed, and that's obviously a problem because the whole point was for all of these animals not to be killed. So that's a failure of some kind. So
it's true.
I think it becomes trial by combat. Is the way that you get sued in the Astral Sea.
The 2 brothers pull out their blunderbusses and just go blasting.
No, they have champions.
We have
We are the most honored paralegals in the Astral Sea.
Yeah, it's actually no coincidence there's only the 2 of us.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, so there's consequences, like if you end up exterminating the species, because like we didn't need that much blood, you sickos.
I know who our champion is.
You gotta maintain the bloodline, and then you have to fight our champion, which is
Mother Druthers.
And who is Mother Druthers?
It's mom. It's mom.
Ma!
Oh. So mom who was
a champion.
So who she wasn't in the picture before, but if you get the bad side of the brothers, they sick their mom on you.
She still has a cast from the slip accident at the grocery store.
Got a neck brace.
Yeah, she's still got a neck brace on.
Yeah, and boy, is she steamed.
Is it an especially brutal combat, or is it just meant to be like, oh, so now if you hurt mom, it's even more legal troubles?
That's the fun part. You gotta, it's win or be sued. You know how the combats, I'm imagining the combat styles to be something similar to like King K. Rool from Donkey Kong.
I had Donkey Kong Country. I don't know if I ever made it that far in the game, but I know
That's how Mother Druthers fight, is like King K. Rool.
Yeah, big old, because it's got the blunderbuss, big old gun, like titanium stomach, and a small helicopter backpack. I'm remembering that's what he had.
Mother Druthers is just King K. Rool.
Yeah. But like with pin curls and lipstick.
Okay.
And a neck brace.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right.
Make that fan art.
I wait with bated breath for any fan art of this podcast. Certainly. Is there a difference in how the brothers would deal with the party if they just refuse them outright? If they're like, "Hey, we want you to do this contract, we want you to do this mission," they don't sign anything and they just say no, thank you. Like, are the brothers gonna treat the party differently or anything like that? Find legal recourse or something else?
I don't think so personally. I think that's one of those, you don't know you're in it until you're in it. You know? It's like if they say no, it's like, all right, hey, come, if it's good, it's a good gig.
I see. They just kind of dangle it over him.
Yeah.
We've got a long line of clients that we need to tend to.
Yeah. So sort of at their discretion. I've been far away from the microphone. Sorry. At their discretion. And but once they say yeah, and like we'll pitch you. It's like, hey, look, not everybody gets to do this. This is a pretty well paying gig, and it doesn't come around all that often. And it's trust me, it's easy.
You're gonna want these
easy.
buckets.
You're gonna want these buckets. You haven't seen buckets. Full stop. And then if they say yes, it's like, well, here we go.
Well, without further ado, I think it's time we throw the Druthers Brothers into a random encounter. This random encounter is brought to you by my sponsor, Zencastr. Zencastr came into my life when I didn't think I would need it, but now I definitely need it with trying to raise a family and keep the podcast episodes flowing and all that stuff, and not trying to keep myself awake for all hours of the night trying to get these episodes edited. Thanks to Dane and Benjamin over at Dispel Magic showing me this service, I was hooked, and I decided to become a paying member so I could get access to all these awesome tools with editing and getting these great episodes to you. So it is so easy and super easy now to record a podcast with Zencastr. You log into your browser and you start recording a high quality podcast right away. You could record studio quality sound and up to 4K video with your guests. Feel a sense of zen, knowing Zencastr's multi-layered backups ensure you always have your recordings in the highest quality, even if the connection is unstable. A hard sell. On that point alone, I would, I've been podcasting for a couple of years now. That is amazing. So that is a great selling point of this service. You can sound your best. Have you ever worried what you might sound like on a podcast? With Zencastr's post-production process, it makes you sound buttery smooth. It automatically removes the ums and ahs as you click on that feature in the post-production settings, and in your recordings, it's going to remove those awkward pauses and conversations too with the click of a button. Set the right podcast loudness and levels while reducing background noise with a click of a button. It really is that easy. It's all in one. If you have thought about podcasting before and realized that you need a lot of different tools and services, those days are done. With Zencastr's all-in-one podcasting platform, you can create your podcast all in one place and distribute to Spotify, Apple, and all other major podcast destinations. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use my code SIDEKQPodcast, and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. I want you to have the same easy experiences I do for all my podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. Again, the website, zencastr.com/pricing. Use the code SIDEKQPodcast and get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. Thank you so much to the sponsor, and back to the podcast.
Oh my goodness. I hurt myself today.
Yeah, so we've made it here to the random encounter section. This is where we get to do a little bit of D&D, some role play, a vignette, if you will, a scene from the life of the Druthers Brothers. So the question I put before you, gentlemen, is, we have Johnny, who's going to be Billums, and we have Travis, who's going to be Samuel. But the question is, who am I going to be in this scene that you wish to present the Druthers brothers? Is it going to be them meeting one of my adventuring characters, and they're going to ask them to do the quest? Is it them meeting with a potential law firm that they want to work for? Is it that instigates or initiates them being like, hey, we need to get more of this supplies? Is it them? I don't know. I'm whatever kind of scene you're interested in, how you think you're going to be able to best showcase Billums and Samuel.
I think it's a conservationist that is hearing issues about the loss of life at this creature that we have been having to source our ink from, and this conservationist is not happy with us right now because we've been sending all these adventurers to source more blood for our contracts. If that's too dark, we can go a different direction because I didn't get the response that I was.
No, I'm just staring down the barrel of having to confront this monster I've created.
Let's just do an adventure, I think.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, Kurt. Our things are set. What sounds the most fun to play off of for you?
Well, I mean, as of late, I've just been doing a bunch of different vignettes, but I mean, I do have a whole roster of characters that we could use.
Yeah, some that speaks to you.
Yeah, okay. So, just to remind our podcast audience who all these fine adventurers are. So we've got Duncan, the recklessly brave adventurer for hire, happy-go-lucky kind of a guy. Sam Rusk did a fan art of Duncan, so very appreciative of that.
Nice.
We've got Sonia, the warrior woman, who started as a barbarian, multiclassed into a paladin who serves a god to redeem the undead. We have Korak, who's the lawful evil arcane trickster roguish dwarf. We've got Chrisley, who's the herbalist botanist wood elf druid, multiclassed into a cleric who serves the god living memory. We have Orion, who's the astral elf illusionist wizard. Agape, who is the lilac colored tiefling Sorlock, so started as a wild magic sorcerer and then took a Feywild arch-fey warlock pact. And then the newest, I think, character that we've added to the roster would be Lifespell the Necromancer with his little skeleton manservant Octavius. So if any of those characters speak to you, I know, if you go back and listen to the episode we did with KP, Orion did finally manage to make his way back to the Astral Sea. I could see Orion being an interesting character to interact with, but if you'd prefer any of those other characters, I'm of course open to having any of them just randomly, any number of spells or circumstances could happen to make one suddenly appear in the Astral Sea.
Who's most likely to be in legal trouble with the devil?
Well, I mean, Korak is the lawful evil character that I've specifically made, and it has been a long while since we've heard from him, probably because he must have run into some legal trouble.
Yeah, I think he found himself in some legal trouble and went to the Astral Sea to go to the only people that he knows can help him best. Does that sound good to you, Trav?
I like it.
Where we last left our hero, Korak, back in episode 94, like how they would used to do in comic books, he went to the shop of Ashamel, who was the Hadazi, who worked in the mirror shop and had the strange looking glass mirror. And Korak was on the run because he had just participated in some 5-finger discountering of the local lord's house. And then stepped through the mirror and kind of found himself in the Feywild. And of course, the wibbly wobbly nature of time going forwards and backwards simultaneously in the Feywild, through the course of that adventure, kind of learned a little bit more about himself, but, just that lawful evil streak in him. He just can't help himself when he knows that, the law is on his side to do the most selfish things for his own benefit, much to the chagrin of Ashamel, who did try and really help him. But suffice it to say, because of the portal nature, Korak got into mischief and trouble in the Feywild and was desperate to try to find the right portal, and soon enough finds himself stepping through another looking glass mirror type thing. And where does he find himself in the Astral Sea where he's going to easily be able to find these brothers or some indication of where the brothers are located?
The portal dumps him into the middle of our office.
Seemingly perfect. Okay, yeah. So he steps out of this portal and he looks around and is just kind of like, where am I? What? I was running from the prince's army, and where the blazes am I? And he starts going off in a bunch of dwarvish. But he's looking around, and what does he see in this office?
I think from...
You go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. I was just going to say, behind a desk, you can't see anybody there, but you hear a little voice say, "Welcome to Druthers and Druthers Paralegal, where we help you find your druthers. How can we help you?"
Yeah. He pulls out his daggers, and he's like looking around like, ghosts? Wait, did I end up in a place with ghosts? What's going on?
No, I'm just down here.
He looks down. I'm guessing they're probably on the par for the same height. And he goes, oh.
I hop up on the chair to be standing up to be able to see him.
He puts his daggers away. He's like, hello, nice to meet you, strange. And he rolls a history check, and he does like really poorly. And so he just blurts kind of like out without thinking. He's just kind of like strange talking hippo person.
Just so we all remember, in a suit with a pith hat on. Just paint this image.
Yeah, Korak has never encountered a giff before, so he does not know what to make of this.
Yeah, of course.
I think I'm going to have to bring my associate out here. Samuel?
Sorry, what the... I can't remember your name again. It was...
Billums.
I'm like, that's... I couldn't... I thought there was a TH in it somewhere, sorry. From the other room you hear, banging, crashing, banging, something loud falling down. Oh! Billums, what's going on? Oh, a customer. Hello. I'm gonna do a lore check on this guy real quick in my own head.
Sure, yeah. You roll, and with your natural legal insight, you get like a really high insight check. So yeah, you totally clock this guy. He is a dwarf. He's scar riddled. He's wearing like dark clothing. So you definitely get like the rogue vibe, but you sense maybe a little arcane off of him. So he maybe knows some other kinds of quick tricks. So he's used to like, living by the skin of his teeth and rolling from the next situation to the next. So this guy definitely reeks of like legal troubles if he stays in a place too long.
Samuel, he took the portal.
My friend, you smell like portal and strife. Samuel Druthers, nice to meet you. And you are?
Korak, nice to meet you. And he's like slowly shaking your hand, not quite. There's a larger one of you. And he's just like confused.
Villains, Druthers.
And he shakes your hand.
Two hands at once.
Oh, two hands at once. Yeah, he's shaking both hands. He's thoroughly confused. Like I said, he's never met a giff before, so he's just like totally drawn a blank. Like, you're talking. That's
as are you. In fact, let's continue this conversation here by our desk. Billums, please show this man a seat.
Here's your seat, sir. And pulls up a seat for him. Just lays out a cloth on the chair to be able to like make it as fancy as possible.
Thank you. And as he goes to sit down, there is an obvious spill of more gems and coins and other sorts of fancy art items that he's just kind of like, oh crap. I'll pick that up. Don't worry about that. Yes.
Samuel breathes heavily.
You're more than happy to help.
Oh, thank you, young man. Yes, and so he'll turn to look at Samuel and be like, yeah. So, where am I? I was in the Feywild last I knew.
You're exactly where you need to be. Nobody falls through in our office unless they need our help. And what do we do to help? We help you get out of trouble with whoever you're in trouble with, as long as you don't need the help of an actual lawyer.
You know what they say? If you're ever in trouble, don't call your mothers, call the Druthers.
That's right. And then we'll call a lawyer.
And maybe our mother.
So what's got you in here today? What happened? Who's on your tail? Nobody's going to come here, right? There's nobody, going to
Nobody's
be
behind you in the portal.
falling through. You shut the portal behind you, right? You
I
shut
pull
the
a
portal
musket
behind
out.
you.
He gets immediately freaked out seeing the musket. He's like, and he like reaches for his daggers to like hold them up and like, so like a mini Mexican standoff for a second before he like he
I'm pointing it past him. Don't you worry, sir. You're a client of ours now. I'm protecting you.
Yeah, this is for your protection. We need to make sure that nobody else comes through that portal while we're having our consultation. Not only is that dangerous, it's a breach of confidentiality.
He nods slowly and puts the daggers back and just kind of flexes his hands and he's like, do you
Just to be completely clear, we don't have legal confidentiality because we are not license holding lawyers, but we do know quite a few.
And they practice confidentiality, so we figure might as well get you in the vibe, get
Yes.
you used to the process. Now, again, as I was saying, what is it that brought you falling into our office today? Who's after you? What do they want? What did you do?
Well,
might I
that you're
say, your
completely innocent
beard
of.
is truly magnificent. I've yet to see such facial hair, right? That's what this is.
Oh yeah, no,
Looking
he is
here.
like very like stereotypically thick bearded dwarf with like, but he's also got like plenty of scars and all sorts
This
of
is
other
the
things.
beard of a dwarf who's seen things and knows people. And I don't take you for a fool, which is why I'd like to take on your case to a lawyer.
Yeah. He's the, he is an arcane trickster, but I play him as kind of a character who's not very super intelligent. So
Right.
you're fast talking him and he's just kind of like buying more into it, just kind of like, yeah. So I fell through a mirror when I had to leave. I fell to a monkey individual, Hadazi. Yeah, he was called a Hadazi. I went through the looking glass mirror, and I was in the Feywild and he has like no sense of how much time has passed. He's like, I was there fighting some kind of a war, and the kid was nice, but too young and idealistic, and I split off and I just started grabbing things that weren't nailed down because I think they're better off with me. And well, I don't think the Archfey quite liked that. So that's who I'm running from.
Let's just be clear. You didn't sign anything, did you?
If you sign something, we can't help you. But if you haven't signed anything, then we can. We have to work on this alibi. But there's hay to be made here.
No, I didn't sign anything.
Fantastic.
Wonderful.
Now, here's what you need to know. You're going to probably be what we call in the business hunted for revenge, which is different than sport. Because as it seems, you have stolen things from people that were not yours. Now, look, I personally have no moral opposition to that. I understand what it means to be a hunter-gatherer in the social sense. So that's not for me or my associate here, who I'm related to pass judgment. What we need to make sure that you have is a solid story so that when they come for you, and they will, you have protection. That protection is called a good alibi.
Yeah.
Think of it like a spell that's made of a lie.
Now you're talking my language. Yeah. He's getting more and more agreeable to you. So yeah, it's like now he's getting chummy and you're actually seeing like he's smiling more and you can see more of the metal teeth poking through in his smile, some very strongly cracked teeth and stuff like that. And he looks over at Billums and he's like, you got any alcohol in this place? I could kill for a drop of drink.
I've got
it. He keeps it on the top shelf.
I've got it. Billums, why don't you talk through our client here, talk him through what our usual process is, drop maybe some contracts, and just let's give him the full the full package. I'll rustle him up some beverage.
The full package contract. Yes, he files through some papers. Yes, this is basically our managing agreement, our finding fee for being able to find you an actual lawyer who will be able to take on this case. We are an agents for several Astral Sea lawyers. So if you sign here, and here, we can start working for you, assuming you have the necessary funds on your person right now, which seems to be the case. He reaches into a
pocket and he pulls out and drops like this huge thing of like, it's like necklaces and tiaras and like, very fancy, Feywild jewelry and like, and silverware and all sorts of odds and ends that he just was too sticky fingered to not pass up.
Now let me be perfectly clear. These are stolen items. Is that correct?
They were lying around and there was a war going on. And you know what?
Oh,
Finders
yes.
keepers.
And that's exactly what we would say here at Druthers Druthers, a paralegal firm. That should just about do it, as he kind of shuffles it back to Samuel and kind of pushes it back to you.
At which point, Samuel, a beam of a glare at the pile of riches on the table, clambers down from a small step stool with a large mug of foamy drink and places one at your side, grabs another for himself, and grabs a junior cup for Billums.
Cider,
yes. Okay, well, it's clear to me that we have the makings of a wonderful partnership, and I can guarantee you, within the confines of the law, that you will be protected from any and all legal action. Now, I must be clear that this does not necessarily protect you from violent action. That is outside of our purview. We do not provide physical security. We provide legal security. So, while you may still yet be drawn into combat over this issue, you will not face legal proceedings so long as we can take your case, file the appropriate paperwork, and bring it to one of our many partner law firms and get them to agree to take on the case. And as long as we can get those several steps done, you will be completely safe. But I want to assure you now, you are completely safe legally.
Okay. And
it's
he takes
it's
a big
the mind,
sip.
body, and spirit that we cannot account for quite yet.
And your bones.
Yeah. Smart. And he drains this whole drink, sets it down, lets out a big nasty burp. And it's just starts picking his teeth with one of his daggers. And then it's just this is great. I've doing well for myself. Usually in these, it's usually a tit for tat sort of a thing. So is there I don't know, is there something you need help with so I can guarantee these legal services will remain with me indefinitely? Yes.
Now that you mention it, I mean, we were quite happy to call it square with the pile of riches. We're happy to. You seem like a friendly guy, so we're going to give you a family and friends discount. But if you're really feeling generous, truly, and I feel like we've made a connection here, so this may just be between friends at this point, we could use something quite specific.
Yes, as a nonprofit paralegal firm,
I dump the gems into a bag.
We do require donations of product to come through the doors to continue working, which is why we are in need of a donation soon, specifically of greeble oil, which is the technical term for 3 buckets of blood of greebles, which is a creature that's found here in the Astral Sea.
And it's not found quite easily, I'll tell you that right now. And you may be asking yourself, my dwarven friend, why do you need 3 buckets of greeble oil, which is blood, to run a paralegal firm? That is a great question. A little known fact about paralegal practice and legal practice in general in the astral planes, as it were, is that contracts are only legally binding if signed with greeble oil, which is blood. Now, the trick is these animals are not only scarce, they are, in fact, quite intelligent. Some would even say sentient. They know pain, they know emotion, they understand reason. So even when you confront one, felling it is not just a matter of how hard can you swing your axe, but how deep can you reach into your soul to confront the moral quandary that is to take a life that is not only innocent, but aware.
And to watch the light go out from their eyes.
And then get buckets. Well, we can we have the buckets, but then we need 3. But it's like,
And we don't want them anymore
it's
after
like
we
4 and a
you
half
use them.
Greebles.
And he just kind of starts laughing, and he's just like, watching the life leave from a person's eyes. That's what I call a Tuesday.
It sounds like the guy for the Just This is the right guy. This is the guy. This is the right guy.
I think he's going to bring more work our way too, just based on that kind of response.
Yeah, this guy makes bad. This is violent.
Yeah, and he, he's doing some dagger tricks, and he's just so tickled pink that he just has one of the daggers, and I'm guessing this is a nice desk, and he doesn't know better manners. He's just absent-mindedly stabbing the desk because he's just so happy and like making chips and stuff like that.
I put a coaster down.
He's stabbing the coaster with it still on the desk, and
with each desk stab, Samuel winces slightly.
Okay, so Greeble oil, okay, and you need this for contracts, and I have a question. So in my past, there were these 2 lovely composer ladies that I only think I've just recently found out were Rakshasas. Is that a problem?
So you have been in contact with infernals before, it seems.
I guess if that's what you call them. I mean, they just had me go hunt down a guy and tell them where he was, and I did that. But I think I must have said something funny to one of them because she gave me a weird look, and I don't know. I just get the weird feeling every once in a while that maybe I'm being followed or something like that. Like I was just on this whole thing in the Feywild, but like if I really sit down and think about it, it's like I don't know. Are Rakshasas something to be worried about?
It sounds like your legal trouble has been avoided since you fulfilled the contract, but again, physical damage and trouble and danger is not our forte.
I'll put it to you this way, though. I've never met an infernal that I couldn't out legal. You hear about these infernal contracts. Souls being claimed and reclaimed, traded like shreds of paper, like first-round draft picks, pushed back and forth. The entirety of someone's life being treated as a token of transaction. I won't stand for it. If you meet an infernal and they try to get you to agree to something, just know that as long as you come to us first, you will be safe from the twisted words and winding ways of their paragraphs, as it were, and such.
Well, Korak is just delighted to continue talking and getting more details. And so with more rude behavior, desk stabbings, and just general uncleanliness because this guy does not take very good care of himself, more treasure spilling out every which way, he'll get the coordinates and he will head out to get some of this Greeble oil.
All right.
And scene. So we did it. So there you go.
Yay!
And we made it through the random encounter. So what did you think it was like getting to be the Druthers Brothers?
I had a great time.
It was wild.
I found myself mentally falling into the hippo character from Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law, and that's all right.
Yeah, Travis, I think you missed your calling as a lawyer.
Thank God.
Like a Better Call Saul-esque,
You ever hear lawyers talk about being a lawyer? They're miserable. Every last one of them.
You sounded happy.
Yeah. That's what happens when you just say you're something, you don't have to go to school for it.
just like paralegals do.
I get entertained enough listening to what JD Stone, the Legal Eagle, on YouTube.
Oh,
so
that's right. Yeah,
he makes it seem fun, at least.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us, Kurt.
Yeah, of course. So, I this is, double the guests, double the fun, and, just generally means a longer episode, which is fine, because, hopefully the hardcore listeners of Sidekicks and Sidequests are in it for the long haul with the awesome guests, the jokes, the good times to be had and all that. So, we're here in the final thoughts section. So I always like to just get the vibe check, as the kids say, with the guests, and just, how was your time on the show? And, for Johnny, it's a return. For Travis, it's the first time. So yeah, what was it like being back on?
I was excited to be back on. It's always fun to create NPCs that I'll probably end up using in home games in the future if I ever get to run one, because it's my job to create these stories now, and it's so hard to do it for my own games.
Which is why this resource podcast exists, for sure.
It's true.
You know, I think back to all the days I could have spent being on this podcast, and I feel shame and regret because this was a delight. And to think that such time has passed and I remained in your good graces to the point of being able to be a guest on this podcast just warms my heart and affirms that there is, in fact, good in the world.
Aw. And I can tell you mean that, and you're not just trying to butter me up with flattery and all that. So
I'm not on the come down from pretending to be a lawyer to speak.
right, exactly. Yeah, no, awesome. So obviously, before the podcast wraps up, I always like to give the stage, the microphone, the soapbox, the platform over to the guests. So whatever you've got to plug, where can people find you on socials if you want to be found? Any other concluding thoughts and, any passions or causes that we need to be made aware of, let us know.
I think go listen to Athletics Check on your favorite podcasting app.
Or watch it on YouTube.
Or join our Patreon, where similar to this show, you will be able to get a shout out during the episode. You can even at the highest, which we just had our first game, at the highest tier, you get the opportunity to play in a virtual D&D or TTRPG game with myself, possibly with Travis. Bi-monthly, every other month, you get an opportunity to play in a D&D game, and it was really fun to be able to do that last week.
Run by either one of us, and let me be explicitly clear, I have never once in my entire life ran a D&D session before. So
if you want to be in Travis's first D&D session that he's ever run, join the Patreon at Athletics Check.
Patreon.com/AthleticsCheckPod. Also, special shout out to my other roommate, Frank Janish, who does all the video editing and largely is the lead editor on this show. Because
largely is the reason why these episodes actually come out.
What's a roommate if you're not working with them? It is the point of
how
my
many
life.
roommates have we mentioned in this episode?
That's almost all of them. That's 4 of 5. So Katie, now it's all 5.
Yay. And then, of course, for each, collectively, yes, we gotta be making sure we're subscribed, like, and share for Athletics Check podcast. But for each of you individually, certainly, if we're not already following you, where should we be following you and such?
Johnny, you got stuff to pitch. You got sync. You got.
I mean, but Athletics Check is the reason why we're here together. So Athletics Check is the main thing.
Sync. It's open forum.
But yes, you can check out my social medias at Johnny Stanton IV on all the required websites to be on nowadays. And check out Sync RPG at Sync RPG on Instagram and get.syncrpg.com. If you like pirates, if you like tattoos, if you like D&D, you're going to like Sync. And you can get a very cool little glittery pin that Travis seems to like me describing. That over at get.syncrpg.com with just a $1 pledge that will come with your fulfillment of the project.
You can find me on LinkedIn. I don't update it. You can also find me at the Clubhouse on Vermont Street in Los Feliz, either going to a clown show or being a participant in a clown show, or at the Elysian Theater in Frogtown. You can also find me by the airport because I live by there. And if you need to keep your car there, there's usually someone taking the space.
Great spot.
Yeah, but we can figure it out. You can also find me largely in the social media sense on Instagram. It's not a well-updated thing, but I post what funny things I see in the gym on my story. Today, they were playing Hunter x Hunter at the gym on one of the TVs, which that's fun. And anything else I try to plug is just going to dilute the legitimate plugs that Johnny had. So causes, boy, spay and neuter your pets.
The Bob Barker.
Give him the old Bob Barker.
And Crimson Herald Games, right? That's the actual game company that's putting together Sync along with Hit Point Press, right?
Yes, yes, and no. It's where Crimson Herald is a part owner of the Sync project, along with Crimson Herald. Along with Hit Point Press, and
I
along
see.
with Samurai Rusk.
All right. Yes.
Fantastic.
Awesome guest of the show. So we got it. We got all the plugs. We got all the mentions
Hell
and
yeah.
all that stuff.
Close up the plug bag. Let's get out of here.
All right. Well, thank you both so much for being on the podcast. Can't wait to have you back on, making even more interesting NPCs.
I don't know if we can get much more interesting, but we'll try.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Sidekicks and Sidequests. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast through Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Amazon Music, Overcast, or YouTube, or feel free to save the RSS feed to use the app or player of your choice. Visit our website, sidekicksandsidequests.com, for links, write-ups of the NPCs, and to learn more about the show and the guests who have been on it. To stay up to date and interact via social media, you can follow the podcast on Facebook, Instagram/Threads, Twitter/X, and Reddit by searching for SideKQ Podcast. You can also find our small Discord community as well online. I would love to talk D&D and showcase your fan art, stories of how you used our NPCs, discussions, and commentary. And hey, if you'd like to hail the bard and send me a message, an email, you can do so by communicating with sidekicksandsidequests@gmail.com. To help this show be the resource it's meant to be, I ask that you leave a review on iTunes, 5 stars, please, to help spread the word and share our podcast with your friends and family. Whether you're a veteran player or an aspiring dungeon master, there's something here for everyone, and I want to hear about it. As mentioned in the NPC creations section of the podcast, I do in fact have a Patreon for Sidekicks and Sidequests. If you love this podcast and what we're trying to do here, I would appreciate it if you would just go to the website, patreon.com/sidekicks and sidequests. No matter your lifestyle expenses, we have wonderful rewards at every level of Patreon membership tier. Modest, comfortable, wealthy, and aristocratic accommodations await, and we welcome all patrons to the Levitating Platter. Seriously, your financial support allows for this passion project to continue to invest in itself through the tools that will take our production to the next level, as well as provide more content for our patrons and the community at large. Please consider supporting me on Patreon if you can.
Sidekicks and Sidequests is unofficial fan content permitted under the fan content policy.
Meaning I'm not approved or endorsed by Wizards.
Portions of the materials used are property of Wizards of the Coast.
Copyright Wizards of the Coast.
LLC.
Thank you for your support, and I'll see you at the pub next time.
Bar to rock on 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Sidekicks and Sidequests.